Welcome to Autism Knows No Borders, a podcast where people connected to autism inspire change and build community. Together with the Global Autism Project, I'm your host, Rachel Harmon, a professional with over a decade of experience in the field of autism services, outreach, and advocacy. Have you or anyone you know ever been bullied or abused because of being autistic? If so, you'll want to listen to this episode with Eren Niederhoffer, where he talks about how he's learned to overcome many years of abuse at the hands of his own family. Eren Niederhoffer is an autistic self-advocate, community networker, and public speaker. He is a board member of the Atlanta Autism Consortium and the NeuroDiversity TaskForce, as well as the former president of Atlanta Autism Self-Advocacy Network, where he co-created the Atlanta's All-Women Autism Panel and African American Autism Panel. In this conversation, among other things, we discuss Eren's tumultuous relationship with his father and siblings, common struggles autistic people face in social situations like reading facial cues and nonverbal language, when to mask and unmask, and how Eren's helped his colleagues understand his autism. In this episode, discover what's possible when you lift yourself up to help others. And now I present you, Eren Niederhoffer.
My name is Eren Niederhoffer. I am 36 years old, just turned 36 last month. I've been an autism self-advocate for 10 years since I graduated college. Interacting with dogs around neighborhoods or organizations, I like finding new ways to cook. One of my favorite hobbies involves helping friends with socials or hosting my own to bring people together as a community building activity. And one of my favorite ways of dealing with stress is exercise.
All right. Great. Well, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So let's talk about your autism. When did you discover that you were autistic?
I didn't discover it, but my mother and father pointed it out to me when we moved to Atlanta when I was about 10. I had been diagnosed around 4, but they let me know when I was old enough to learn about it.
And what was that like for you to find that out?
It gave some answers, but it didn't provide a solution to what I was dealing with. When I was diagnosed, this was the time when people thought autism was a behavioral disciplinary issue or something that you could just magically alter through diets. So I went through a lot of the fake fads, the belief that if you tranquilized your autistic, they'd behave better, or if they put them on a gluten dairy-free diet, it somehow fixed something. Or if you treat them like a dog, they would behave better. It was a rough change. So part of the reason why I do autism self-advocacy is because I want to not only educate parents and people on the spectrum, but make sure that people don't go through what I did growing up.
Right. Okay, so do you have some specific memories from some of the therapies that you received?
They were basically trying to get me to open up about my family. The problem was my father was very old school, as in he believed that autism was a disciplinary issue. So he would often force the therapists to share information with him and punish me for it. My main positive therapy was friendship and stepping outside my comfort zone. All of these were happening without my father's control.
Could you elaborate more on your relationship with your father?
He wasn't willing to understand at the time that autism was complex. We saw things differently. That didn't mean we didn't have empathy. It just was something that was taught to us. He didn't understand that we learned a different way. For example, how shall I put this? Imagine you have a sheet of paper in front of you, a sheet of paper on your left side, and a mirror on your right. And your job is to sketch a star onto the sheet of paper while using the reflection of the mirror to see it. It's possible, it just requires practice in that direction. Autism is a learning disability. We require basically different ways for different autistics, we require different ways of looking at the same situation to get there sometimes. My father wasn't willing to, and a lot of teachers were not willing to try to find a different approach for me to learn. They expected me to obey the one size fits all. My mother got me a service dog, which helped me by me bonding with the dog. I learned to improve my appearance, improve vocabulary, and very importantly, regulate my emotional control.
With the service dog?
Because I did not want to frighten the service dog, overwhelm, or upset said dog. So I learned to be calm and be control of my emotions because dogs respect calm people.
Okay.
So my mom was often my biggest supporter. She tried to find the therapist. She tried to help me go through different approaches that would allow me to basically step outside my comfort zone, which for an autistic is extremely hard. Change is hard. But the more I was able to try new things with help from other people, with guidance, the more I was able to develop and the difficulties of autism for me lessened. So as a result, I'm always trying something new, whether it be cooking a new recipe, eating a new food, trying a new exercise, learning a new hobby, enjoying a different media, listening to new music, or going to different functions. I have to try new things because it allows me to basically grow even now. I am still growing, still learning, still changing.
Yeah. And so growing up, you had siblings, right?
I'm on much better terms with them at right now, but in the past, my mom had often said that if it wasn't for my father, I would have a very strong relationship with my siblings. But because my father was very abusive, he encouraged my siblings to be mentally and emotionally and physically abusive to me as well. So it was not a safe household for me. They eventually became estranged from my father when he became awful to them as well. But by that time, we were all adults, and there was a large rift that is still taking years to repair.
Are you in communication with him now?
Barely. He realized that he was an awful human being, but by then the damage is already done. I'm more focused on trying to mend the bridges with my siblings and try to make up with each other.
What kind of support did you receive to process some of that abuse?
I didn't. All I had was my mother's love and my dog's love. I'm going through therapy right now with a therapist, but it's been a long time since I had any genuine support. So there's a lot of baggage that I'm working through, but I can definitely recommend that therapy is needed. Don't try to bury your emotions. Don't try to I'm a big person, I can take it. Therapy is needed, especially when it comes to abuse.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really a shame. I'm sorry that happened to you. I think, a lot of autistic people already have some struggles with feeling
Isolated or excluded
right.
or demonized. That's why I chose to be an advocate. I want people to know that there are others out there who care about them, who feel that they matter, who think about them positively. I want them to know that their lives have meaning and that they are loved. And if I can reach different crowds, do different panels to reach out to these people, if I can give them hope, if I can give them strength, then I can make sure that what happened to me will not happen to anyone else.
Yeah. Right. And I think part of that also comes with education.
It's more than just education or information. The problem is if people are willing to educate themselves. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. You can give these people a document, but if they're not going to look at it, not going to study it, then there's no point. You can say, I gave these people the information, but that doesn't mean they'll look at it. It doesn't mean they'll be willing to understand it.
Mhm.
My father saw different types of therapy and thought, oh, I'm just going to twist it to be abusive. He basically took what therapists recommended and twisted it into being, how can I make Eren suffer more?
Mm.
He was a very twisted human being who thought pain and suffering was a good teaching tool, not love. He did not love.
Do you know anything about how he grew up?
He was from the Bronx. It's always said to be a rough and awful place, but I never knew any of his family. All I know is that he really did not like my mom's family. He would rather not attend some of our functions and stuff, but I don't know anything about him growing up. All I know is how he treated me.
Yeah. And how did you get to a point in your life when you were able to overcome some of this? Did you used to blame yourself?
Yes, I often did blame myself because that's how my father brainwashed me. Because he and my siblings made it seem like I was an abomination, a disgrace against humanity. And my father and siblings encouraged me to take my own life. But if I did that, they'd win. My mother and my dog cared about me. So they were the first step. The first real step was when I made friends, actual friends. Those people showed me that I mattered. Those people showed me that somebody cared about me. Those people showed me that my father and siblings were wrong. That kindness made a difference. That compassion, that made a difference. The other part was when my mom took me to an event, a panel by several people on the spectrum who were encouraging me to step outside my comfort zone, try new things, and try to make friends because I did not want to spend my life doing the same thing over and over. So I started trying, although it involved making a lot of mistakes in high school, I did eventually start learning social skills. It was still a struggle, which started changing when I first entered college, thanks to being willing to step outside my comfort zone, support from my mother, and just trying new things. I met a boy there who was also suffering family issues. He hated himself even worse than I did myself. He saw in me a chance to do something good, to do some good, to be relevant. So thanks to him, I now exercise regularly. I diet. I step outside my comfort zone, make new friends. When he graduated, he tried to drop off the radar because despite how much I tried to help him, the first real friend I had, he didn't want help. He just felt like he was beyond helping. Someone devoted themselves to making sure I would have a future. So my goal is to help as many people find theirs, because if someone decided that I was worth helping build a future, that meant that I would take every opportunity I could to grow and build mine and try to help others as others had helped me. People showing me kindness, people showing me empathy, people showing me that I mattered. That gave me hope, and I wanted to share that hope with others. That's where it led to my next step. I was helping out at my college's day of service, which is basically required volunteering. I was helping out at a church, even though I'm Jewish, I'm open minded, like I said. And a program director at said school offered me a chance to talk about autism for 2 minutes at different events and locations. It's where I discovered that I had not a talent so much as a passion. Coming home from college, I took that passion and began working on it to where I was given the opportunity and noticed to go through additional training. So a lot of people seem that I have this talent and I'm a natural, but the fact of the matter is everything I am, I worked hard at. I made lots of mistakes that I beat myself up over, not physically, but I practiced, I tried, and I kept trying. So that's where I read it where I am today. So my goal as a result of getting this far is to take what I learned and the mistakes so I can help other people reach my level, lift other people up so they can get there without as many mistakes, without as many struggles. So another generation of advocates, of people able to lift themselves up and others.
Yeah. Could you talk about some of those mistakes?
Nonverbal cues for one. Reading people's facial expressions. Still struggle with that. Learning what things are appropriate to say and what are not. There's not exactly a rule book on any of these things, but you're expected to know each of those things wherever you go. So the mistakes I made was having to learn those things.
Mm.
Let's see what else. Whether it be clothes, whether it be body language, fidgets or tics, etc. So basically things that were expected to be known. If someone made a guidebook of the nonverbal cues, of the unwritten rules that are to be followed in workplaces or social gatherings, etc., that book would become a bestseller on the New York Times. I can promise you that.
Hey, Rachel here. I'd like to thank one of our listeners, Izzy0826, for reviewing the show on Apple Podcasts. They said, quote, "Thank you for having conversations that will help people grow and think beyond stigmas and misinformation." End quote. Thank you for the kind words. 5-star reviews like yours help us continue spreading autism awareness and acceptance around the world. If, like Izzy, you're finding value in Autism Knows No Borders, please leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. And now, back to the conversation. And so as you're speaking, some of this people might argue is just a form of masking, right? Like suppressing yourself from being who you really are or saying what you really think or moving the way you want to move. And there's this societal pressure to behave, quote, normal, right? And what is normal? This is a question that comes up a lot on the podcast too. What do you think about that and adhering to some of these social norms as a form of masking?
When people say masking, they don't want you to be considered disruptive or they don't want you to be offensive. It's fine to have fidgets, to require a stress ball, or to do this if necessary, so long as you're not like causing major disruptions. I think it should be allowed to do masking or even have your stimming. I think when people say they want you to be normal, they want you to simply not disrupt when someone is speaking or disrupt or interrupt office efficiency. As long as you can fall within that guideline, it's stimming or other stuff should be fine. It's just mainly, I think, a part of the image. But the good thing is there are so many forms of stimming. There are so many forms of questions and stuff. It's just a matter of knowing when and where. As long as you can hold it in enough to be able to wait for an opportunity to ask, there should be an opportunity to take the mask off, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
We all wear a mask for one reason. We keep certain beliefs to ourselves. We keep certain behaviors or hobbies to ourselves. For an autistic, it's more about behavior than interests or hobbies. But we are going to need an opportunity to take that mask off and be ourselves. It's just a matter of when or where the mask has to be on or where it can be taken off. Like I said about that book of the nonverbal cues, as long as one can find that opportunity, like a break room or a sensory friendly room or environment, to just let it out. I think there should be an opportunity for that, so long as you're able to just keep it together in the workplace. I think that's where the issue is the mask is. They say, okay, you can be yourself, just not on company time that disrupts work value. I think that's where they go with this.
Okay. And some people also might argue that that still isn't enough, right? That there should be this encouragement of accepting who you are.
There is going to be always a need for workplace accommodations for people on the spectrum and all their developmental disabilities. I have my struggles too. I'm very passionate, and my coworkers have learned to accept said passion or my anxiety, ADHD, all of that. We've learned to work out a system. I think part of the thing is for the mask to be able to take it off, for the need for less masking, you have to be able to work with either your peers or your community to find a way to make it work for both sides, not just for you, but for them. An understanding, a trust. And that can be just hard enough as is for any normal autistic, for any standard situation, I mean. But that doesn't mean that there aren't people willing to work with you on it that are off the spectrum, There are coworkers that are willing to accommodate you. You just have to be able to find how to tactfully and non-disruptively work with them on it so that more can be done. But that's one of my goals as an advocate, not just to work with people on the spectrum, but to help those people on the spectrum work with people off the spectrum, a bridge. So that the acknowledgement, it's not just acceptance, it's understanding. Understanding leads to acceptance. To get more people off the spectrum, to understand people on the spectrum leads to the acceptance that allows for the working with the people on the spectrum to allow them to take off some of that mask.
Right. So could you share some of the ways that you've worked with your colleagues to help them better understand you?
They understand by first letting them know that I'm autistic. They understand. I try to explain in my own words why I may seem like I speak too loudly when I'm excited, or how I'm always worrying about a task. So I explain that I'm not trying to pester them. I just want to make sure I'm helping them do their best. I work here in this library because in case a voice gets raised, or if they need to meet with me outside of their office cubicles, so there's no disruption. Now, that's my situation, and it may vary for autistic or person to person, but working on ways to minimize the struggles, maximize the strengths. And in the result, I benefit the workforce. I benefit my coworkers. But it's basically, here's what I struggle with. Let's talk about what we can do to make sure that my struggle does not impact you negatively and you can still benefit from my strengths.
Could you describe what it is that you do at work?
Without sharing any details. So I don't work for the company per se. I work for someone who works at the company. Bit of a legal detail there.
Okay.
But I help him, his coworkers, his associates with lead generation. I identify people in the state of Georgia that might be good business for them to reach out to. Then I help them devise ways through social media, email, or phone number of getting a hold of those people by tracking down business contact info. Then the third step leads to me working on communications templates, whether they be phone, email, or social media, for my coworkers to approach these people and set up a coffee or Zoom. So it is half communication, half information.
Yeah. Do you like your job?
I've been working at it for 10 years. I helped one person set 15 appointments in a week, and I helped my boss meet with 3 billionaires.
That's really rewarding.
So I'd say I've done some good stuff.
Thanks for tuning in to Autism Knows No Borders. If you enjoy this podcast and you'd like to support our mission, please take a moment to rate the show and leave a review. You'll be helping us to continue spreading autism awareness and acceptance around the world. Thanks for listening. Take care.